Welcome to Feed Me the Facts, the podcast dedicated to representation and inspiration for students and professionals of color pursuing careers in nutrition and dietetics. I'm Deanna Belleny Lewis, registered dietitian and co-founder of Diversify Dietetics. Every episode will bring you expert insights, the latest trends, and personal stories that inspire. Whether you're new to the field or a seasoned pro, this is your space to learn, grow, and connect. Hey everyone, it's Deanna again, and I am so excited to kick off this Feed Me the Facts reboot and tell you a little bit about what's in store for the season alongside my season co-host, Danielle Sanders. Danielle's a dietitian, a fellow Texan, and if you were at the DD Annual Summit, she had an amazing presentation on breaking bread and myths, unveiling the challenges in the food as medicine narrative. This is a shameless plug that, if you didn't go to the summit, all of the recordings are online, including Danielle's session alongside Dante and Dr. Kari Cartwright. So anyway, welcome, Danielle. Please share a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So glad to be here. So grateful for the DD community. Like Deanna said, I am a dietitian. I've been working as a nutrition professional about 8 years now. Remember the early origins of DD, and so exciting to see where the space is now. Most of my work is in the food as medicine, culinary medicine space, but also really passionate about bringing cultural foodways into that conversation and really promote the enjoyment of eating. So glad to be here again.
Yeah, God, you're alongside me, and I cannot believe it's been 8 years. When you said that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So today, like I said, we're talking about what we've got in store for the season, the motivations behind the reboot. I think our last episode was in 2022 or 2021. It's been a while. So we obviously have new goals and visions for the future of it and the impact we hope that it makes in the nutrition community. And I'll start by just talking a little bit about how Feed Me the Facts got started. When DD was founded in 2018, we started with our programming that really connected the community together. So we did meetups, we did our mentor program. And Tamara and I initially were recording things on IG and Facebook Live, and just saw that it wasn't really reaching as many folks as we thought it could, especially as a new org. And so that led to the start of the first Feed Me the Facts. And it's sunsetted just because of all the other programs that got started. For those that have been following DD, you know that now, we do conferences, both in person and virtually, and workshops. And we also launched our very own dietetic internship program. So with the just influx of new programming and the growth of the organization, it fell kind of down on the to-do list, and it kept getting down, and it would say pending every time we'd have a team meeting of what's the status of Feed Me the Facts? And I'm like, we don't know yet. We'll see where it goes.
TBD.
Exactly. So a couple folks had asked about it, oh, the podcast was so helpful, especially students and young professionals. We've had a couple interns in the 6 years that we've been an organization, and they were like, I really wish you were still doing Feed Me the Facts. Some of those episodes were really helpful as I was trying to figure out, what I want to do and where I wanted to go. And so there was so many people that said that I was like, okay, let's do it. It's a fun opportunity just to hear from people in the community, to hear perspectives, to get the word out on what folks of color in nutrition and dietetics are doing, how they're doing it, because it's a space that can sometimes feel really isolating. So that's where things were. And now here we are bringing it back, trying to be more consistent. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback.
Exactly.
We're back with the reboot. So thinking of how far the DD community has come, all of the different offerings that are happening now, how do you think that Feed Me the Facts is going to start to distinguish itself? What new features can we really expect from this revamped season of the podcast?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is more perspectives, more voices is one of the big goals. So obviously you are here and so excited that you're going to be a part of this season, but we'll have co-hosts. We'll also continue to have interviews. Last time with the kind of first Feed Me the Facts, it was a little more focused on students, and that won't go away, but we have heard, we just did a strategic plan for the next 3 years. And what really came out of that was a lot of professionals saying that they could benefit from more resources from DD, more community building activities from the DD community. And so we want to lean more into that as well. So not just getting into the field, but like once you're there, how do you continue to grow and thrive and feel supported? So I think that's something that's a little bit newer this time, is that we'll have more of a professional focus in addition to some of the like, how do I get there to begin with, that maybe students and interns are thinking about. I think the other big change is like, as you know, as somebody in food is medicine, like nutrition is becoming such a like expansive topic that everybody is talking about, not just those that are dietitians. So how do we bring other nutrition professionals into the conversation, whether that's like lactation consultants, IBCLCs, diet technicians, those that work as in WIC as nutritionists. So I think we really want to also hear from nutrition professionals more broadly in addition to dietitians, but always will be with the lens of, how do we support communities of color? How do we support people of color that are wanting to make a difference in this field? And I think everyone just has really, this is why I love doing Feed Me the Facts, because there's just so many perspectives and you get to hear about how people are thinking about things, what they're doing. So yeah, sometimes you'll hear from just me. Sometimes you'll hear from Danielle. My lovely co-founder Tamara will join on some. And then of course we'll have guests. So those are some of the things that are similar and different for this year. I'm curious, Danielle, from like your perspective as somebody that has been following DD for a while, has been a part of various events, like, is there something in particular that like you're excited for listeners to hear or expect from this revamped podcast?
Yeah, when you were speaking earlier, I think you're right. Being a early career professional or mid-career professional, sometimes it does seem like there's not a lot of resources out there for us. And so I'm really excited to see Feed Me the Facts kind of fill that space. But also as the nutrition field as a whole is changing and evolving, media dietitians are becoming really big. And so for students, maybe it's easier to make that, jump into there. But if you're already practicing, like how do you, dabble and get your feet wet in making a pivot maybe, or opening your services up to really follow some of these trends. So I'm really excited about that. And then I just like podcasting and the medium that it's easy to learn and easy to hear from your peers and other professionals. And so the reach that podcasts can have, I think, being able to have a conversation with people that you may not normally hear from is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that and like, social media is another way to have a big reach, but it is like the wild, wild west out there, like
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok. So I think we also saw, podcasting, and I know people are interested in like video content as well. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to put podcasts on our YouTube channel for folks, but as a way to, like you said, have a conversation with people, get a little bit more in depth and not have to think about like the algorithm or, all those different trending songs to go alongside things. So I think it's a way that like we're able to show up authentically and connect with people in authentic ways as well.
Yeah. And then also with this platform, I think the opportunity to hear from people who maybe, we don't always hear from. We tend to hear
Mhm.
over and over from a lot of the same people. But being very intentional, I think, with the guests that come on in this season and future seasons, being able to get a wide range of perspectives and input, I think is going to be very exciting.
Yes, totally agree.
All right, let's see. What would you say in terms of, we know the overall mission of, the DD community really emphasizing diversity and inclusion. How do you think that this pivot will continue to emphasize that?
I mean, I think you summarized it really well when you said like we oftentimes hear from a lot of the same voices. Um, So, and when I think about like, inclusivity, it's like having a space where there's belonging and where like, again, that supported feeling is there. For anybody that's been on the DD website, like community is the first word you see because that's how important we feel about it. Like we should be able to have a community of, cheerleaders, coaches, mentors, friends, behind you on this journey, no matter, what area in the nutrition profession you want to lean into and seek. And so I think this provides another out outlet to be able to do this because you see more folks doing those either super niche things or the like more general things that you've always learned about. You can put a face to it, you can, put a voice to it, you can hear the story around it. So I think it's that representation piece, and we know how important representation is. I think for the nutrition profession, as it continues to grow, I think we also need to continue to hear from, those that have all the knowledge, the resources around it. So yeah, I think it's like representation, elevating new voices and current voices. And another thing I'm excited about is like the broad spectrum of it. I think everyone has
Mhm.
value in the perspective that they bring, even if they haven't been in the field for like 15 plus years. Like the student that is just starting, their DPD program, or is just starting their like nutrition program, brings in a really interesting perspective because I haven't been in that program in, I don't even know how many years, like 10 plus, 15 plus years. So what they're seeing in the way that the world is right now is just totally different. So
Mhm.
I think being able to showcase perspectives from those just getting started to those that have been in the game for a while brings in that inclusivity piece, and having a diverse voices and perspectives brings in the diversity piece. So again, our mission, like you said, is around increasing racial and ethnic diversity specifically, but we know there's a lot of gaps that the field has in all sorts of ways. And so any opportunity that we have to bring in voices and share those different perspectives, I think is a win.
Yeah. And I want to go back to something you touched on earlier, talking about how DD as a whole, but also Feed Me the Facts, the role that it's going to play in the broader landscape of nutrition and food as medicine as it's growing. What do you think about bringing in diverse voices that are proximate to the field that aren't necessarily in the field? How do you see Feed Me the Facts, this pivot really incorporating that perspective and the effect that it might have on the community in general?
Yeah, that's such a great point. And as dietitians, I don't know if like we are both dietitians, as people that are in this field, it gets so easy to just be so narrowly focused on like just what RDNs do. But as folks that are also in public health, you see the impact that like physicians, community health workers, nurses, like all of these allied health professionals have in the ultimate goal of impacting and, eliminating health inequities, working in and supporting communities of color. So yeah, I think the opportunity to talk with people that are like proximate to the nutrition space is really important for us to like open up our eyes and perspectives to how we work together to again help reach that ultimate goal of supporting communities of color. So I'm very excited about that. From a like Diversify Dietetics as an organization, we have been having this conversation because previously our currently, I guess, our board is all registered dietitians. And we've been talking about how we can get other perspectives into the board specifically as well that are not dietitians because we have a lot of folks that bring that perspective. So how can we branch out? And it's so surprising, like having conversations with people that have not been like inundated in the field for as long as
Mhm.
we have. They're like, well, why not do this? What have you ever thought about that? And it's so outside of like our box that it like can really move the needle forward, can really have us thinking innovatively about how to make a difference and how to, yeah, support health equity.
Yeah, really, and really advance the nutrition profession as a whole. I think it does take more than just dietitians advocating for dietitians. So that's
Yes.
exciting to see as a whole. And then it just speaks to I think going back to the mission of this, like having diverse perspectives and voices is essential to see, ultimately reach that ultimate goal and to see progress.
As somebody that's in the field, both in the various ways that you're doing media work and also doing public health work and food as medicine work, like I'm curious how you think about the next generation of nutrition professionals and the people that might be tuning into this podcast. Like, what is something you hope they get out of it?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it earlier that everybody has value to add. So, whatever your background and perspective, your lens into things is valued, but also the key piece of collaboration. So,
Hmm.
working more, leaning into more social work, leaning into working with chefs as the food is medicine and culinary medicine space really grows. And also, I think there's still always this power struggle between, physicians and dietitians. And do we see each other's value? Do we really see how we can work together with the interdisciplinary care team? And so it's exciting to see more physicians really elevating the nutrition professional, but also just advocating for how powerful nutrition can be in managing and promoting health. And so that's kind of the perspective that I hope. And I know that culinary medicine is still new and food as medicine is still new. But if we can leverage all of the different perspectives and people to work together, even the role of an influencer, right? Like there's a role for them. It may
Yeah.
not be giving nutrition advice, it probably is not. But can you maybe partner with somebody that has the reach and you provide the expertise?
Yeah.
So thinking creatively like that.
I love that you brought up that topic around like, right, the power piece. Because in our first, we're hoping to have episodes centered around a theme. And every time we ask folks, what topics are you interested in? The topic of like money and power and respect comes up, cute little Kim. That like song always plays in the back of my head. Um, but that's what we're kind of going to dive into in this first season that we're excited about. Like people are always like, how do you make more money as a dietitian? Why are dietitians, the advocacy piece, like how do we advocate for the role of nutrition professionals in foods medicine and public health and healthcare more generally. So I'm really excited for some of the guests that we have lined up for this first season and the topics that we can really be transparent about as it relates to that money and power and respect of the profession as a whole. So,
Yeah, money's always an important topic to do. So it sounds like you are picking up a lot of feedback from the community to really help power this reboot, this refocus. Any challenges or lessons learned from previous iterations specifically that you think have driven the future direction that we're going?
mm-hmm.
There's so
I
many,
mean,
I'm sure.
yeah, I'm like so many lessons learned. I mean, when we first started this, it was like a whole different life. Like I think I was still living in Boston. Tamara was in Atlanta. We recorded the intro like during the holiday break, both in closets. Like there was so many different elements and so much growth that has happened since then. But I think a lot of the challenge was learning that like you can't do it yourself. I think we've learned this in all of the programs that we've done is that even just having the perspective of what people want to do, you still can't execute it alone.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to like not only bring in more voices from the like interviewing standpoint, but to like bring in more perspectives from like the behind the scenes standpoint as well. So like volunteers like yourself or people that are helping with some of the marketing aspect because it's just so hard editing and using different like software to be able to support that. Like it's impossible to be able to work at it alone or even like within a small team. So I think that was one of the big lessons learned. Consistency was also a challenge, and I don't know if it'll be a challenge again. Like I'm sure it will be, but being able to like plan ahead and like batch content, and people talk about it all the time, and in all sorts of media spaces, and it's something that we haven't been able to do yet. But I'm excited because like a lot of the pre-work we've done, I'm like, oh my gosh, we know what topics we want to talk about. We know,
Yeah.
what people we want to reach out to and we want to like hear from the DD community about what people we should be reaching out to. So I just think it like is taking collaboration to the next level in our approach because the challenge, like I said, in the first time, it was like such a small team trying to do it in addition to running programs like the mentor program and meetup, et cetera. So I think that was the biggest challenge in like how we are hoping to address it this season or this like reboot. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
see how it goes and
That's
grateful for all of the help and support for sure.
Yeah, and I think for me specifically, like being able to lend some skills or expertise is kind of an opportunity to give back, number one, to the future generation, but to you guys, to the community that was so essential to, my progression and continued progression
Yeah.
as a dietitian. So
And
thank
let
you
me tell
again
y'all,
for the
Danielle has
space.
all the skills. I did not know this about Danielle, but we were like looking for people to help with the podcast. She was like, "Oh yeah, I've done a podcast before, and I've done this part of it, and I have you heard about this AI feature?" And I was just blown away with how much help you brought in, even like off bat. So, all of the skills that the DD community has, I feel like I love learning about the things that people have done, experience people have had. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, thank you for your help with this because I don't know how it would not be happening right now without
it
you.
it would happen. We would have got there. But I think that's a great segue into something new that's coming with this reboot, and that is what we're calling the Listener Limelight section. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So to the a point of wanting to have more voices and perspectives in this reboot of Feed Me the Facts, we want to shine a light on listeners like you all. So in our newsletter, The Squeeze, there'll be an opportunity for you to send us voice notes, whether it's feedback on the session the episode we just recorded, or it's what you want to hear in the future. Each episode, we'll be inviting you to be a part of the show by sending us that. So burning questions for our guests. We'll tell you about who's coming up and what they're talking about. But we really, really do want to hear from you. I'm the person that sends my friends like 3-minute long voice notes. I love that my phone transcribes them too, so you don't always have to like listen to them. But I love a voice note. So if you are like me and really appreciate the way that you can communicate and just like, it's hard to hear people's like intonation with things when you're just reading something. So like the excitement or disappointment or curiosity, getting able to hear from the listeners in our listener limelight section, we're really excited about. So stay tuned for more details, but make sure you're subscribed to the Squeeze to be able to send those in.
Yeah, this is your chance to hear your voice in one of the upcoming episodes.
For better
Very
or worse. I
exciting.
know sometimes listening back to yourself, you're like, oh, is that what I sound like?
Cringe.
All
And that,
right. Well, I think that probably wraps it up for our little sneak peek. I hope everybody enjoyed hearing a little bit about what's to come. But again, make sure you're subscribed to The Squeeze. Make sure you're subscribed to Feed Me the Facts. Thank you so much to Danielle for co-hosting today and for this season and for all the behind the scenes support. Next time, we are going to be joined by Wendy and Jess from Food Heaven Made Easy to talk about the power of a pivot. As some of you may know, they have been in the media space for so long. They're like the OGs, especially for
yeah.
dietitians of color. But they also, funny enough, are how me and Tamara got connected. They introduced us via Instagram back in 2018. So we're excited to explore a conversation with them and myself and Tamara as well. So remember, you can be part of the conversation by sending in your thoughts and notes via the Squeeze newsletter. But yeah, thanks, Danielle, for today.
Yeah, sounds great. All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Feed Me the Facts. We'd love for you to join the conversation by sending in your thoughts, questions, and voice notes to FMTF for Feed Me the Facts at diversifydietetics.org. Your insights and experiences are invaluable to us, and we can't wait to include your voice in our discussion. This podcast was brought to you by Diversify Dietetics, a nonprofit community dedicated to increasing the racial and ethnic diversity in the field of nutrition and dietetics. You can find this and other episodes of Feed Me the Facts on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as on our website, www.diversifydietetics.org. Stay up to date on what's happening in the DD community by subscribing to our monthly newsletter, The Squeeze. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. You can follow the DD community online on Instagram and Facebook at Diversify Dietetics.